The group that would become known as Switch got its start in Grand Rapids, Michigan, where founder Greg Williams was born in 1954.
I was raised by my mom, single mom. My dad lived around the corner from me. Everybody played instruments. Everybody sang. My mom sang in the church, and my dad played jazz saxophone. I picked up the trumpet at probably age 7. I knew that's what I was gonna do.
But growing up, Greg struggled to find a creative outlet outside the family.
Grand Rapids, at the point in time, nice place to raise your kids. But for African Americans, the cultural exposure was limited. There was no black radio. There was pretty much no black anything, except what we created as a people. There was a group at school called the Sounds of Soul, and it was like a choir or a choral, and that's where I met Bobby.
Robert DeBarge Jr. was the shy but talented eldest son of a musical clan known as the DeBarge Children.
Music was always a constant in the DeBarge household. I don't believe any of them knew how to read music. They all played by ear. But the genius came from Bobby.
Music brought us together. We had common ground there.
But for Bobby and his 9 siblings, music was more than a hobby. It was all that made their young lives bearable.
My father was very abusive for the first 5 of us, which was Bobby, Tommy, and myself, Randy and Mark.
It wasn't really the type of environment that you would expect talented people to come from, because they would probably be crushed by that background.
A troubled Caucasian truck driver, married to an African-American homemaker, Robert DeBarge Sr. often took his frustrations out on his wife, Ederline, and their 10 children. As the eldest son, Bobby often caught the brunt of his father's rage.
Bobby was abused mentally, physically, sexually, and any other kind of way by his father. Bobby feared his father. He wanted very little to do with him. He was a sick guy. Outwardly, of course, Ederline loved her children, and I don't think she saw things through realistic eyes sometimes.
That caused us to live in fear, basically. We still had music, though. We started singing in church, and believing in God helped us to get through some of the things that we were going through at home, and helped us believe, that one day everything was going to be all right.
But for Bobby, there were some things even singing couldn't help him escape.
Bobby's demons was his sexuality.
Bobby was never in the closet. I remember the day that he told me, Greg, you gotta know I like men and women. I'm non-judgmental. I accept people for who they are. But because of the sexual abuse at the hands of his father, it was confusing to him sometimes.
Greg and Bobby spent their first years after high school honing their skills in local clubs and playing gigs around Grand Rapids, until an opportunity in 1973 bought them a ticket out.
A dear friend of mine called me up, and he said, we got a deal on the table with Barry White. Do you want to come and join?
So Greg and Bobby moved to Phoenix, Arizona to secure a gig for the soul legend side project, White Heat. There they met a fellow recruit, percussionist Jody Sims.
First day, Greg and Bobby met Barry White, and he just looked around and he said, if you mess with me, I'm gonna F you for life. That was the first words he said to us.
And they dropped these contracts, these 26-page contracts out. And me being the little smarty I was, Mr. White, don't we get an attorney to look over these things? Signed them. And we signed.
White Heat released a self-titled album in 1975 to little fanfare. So Bobby returned to Grand Rapids, where his demons took a darker turn.
He went back to Grand Rapids, and then I found out sometimes later that he was on heroin.